Hi, I am Pooja. I am going to tell you a story that happened to me when I was a child. It was a warm and sunny Saturday morning. My mom and I were going to the big market in town. I was so excited because I loved going there. The market was always full of bright colors, tasty smells, and lots of people selling interesting things. When we got there, I held my mom's hand tightly as we walked through the crowd. But then I saw a small stand with shiny red balloons. They were floating in the air, bouncing in the sunlight. I got so happy that I let go of my mom's hand and ran toward the balloons. But when I turned around, she was gone. I looked everywhere. There were people all around me, but none of them were my mom. My heart started beating fast. I felt like crying, but I tried to be brave. I stood still and looked around, hoping she would see me. Then a kind woman came up to me. She had a gentle smile and asked, "Sweetheart, are you lost?" I nodded and told her I couldn't find my mom. She held my hand and walked with me to a nearby fruit stall. She asked the seller to help us. He used a microphone and said loudly, "A little girl is lost. She's wearing a yellow dress. If this is your daughter, please come to the fruit stall." After just a few minutes, I saw my mom running toward me. Her eyes looked worried, but then she smiled and hugged me tight. "I was so scared," I said. "I was too," she replied. "Please don't run off like that again." I nodded, and then she surprised me. She bought me one of those red balloons. After that day, I never let go of her hand at the market again. Story type: personal narrative, childhood memory. Meaning, this is a story about a young girl learning an important lesson. Always stay close to the people who care for you. It's also about kindness. A stranger helped her feel safe until her mom came back. In the end, it's a happy and sweet memory. After that scary day, I became extra careful. Whenever we went to crowded places, I always held my mom's hand tight. But something else changed too. I started noticing things around me more. I remembered how that kind woman helped me when I was scared. It made me think, what if I could help someone like that one day too? A few months later, I actually got my chance. My school was having a fair. There were games, food, music, and so many people. I was walking around with my friends, playing ring toss, when I saw a little boy standing near a bench, all alone. He looked just like I had that day at the market, nervous, quiet, and a little teary-eyed. I walked over and asked, "Are you okay? Are you looking for someone?" He nodded slowly. "I can't find my dad," he said. "Don't worry," I told him, smiling. "We'll find him." I took him to one of the teachers helping at the fair and explained what happened. The teacher used the microphone and made an announcement. A few minutes later, a tall man came rushing over and hugged the boy tightly. "Thank you," he said to me. "You're very kind." That moment made me feel warm inside. I remembered how it felt to be helped, and now I knew what it felt like to help someone else. From that day on, I promised myself something. Whenever I see someone who looks lost or scared, I'll be the kind person who stops to help, just like that woman at the market. The day I got lost at the market. As I got older, I never forgot those two moments. First, when I was lost, and second, when I helped someone else. They became a part of who I was. In school, I started joining activities where I could help others. I became part of a helping hands group that welcomed new students. Every time a new girl or boy came to our class and looked shy or nervous, I would smile, show them around, and sit with them at lunch. I knew what it felt like to be alone. One day, our teacher gave us a class project. Think of a way you can make your community better. Some kids wanted to clean the park, others wanted to paint a mural, but I had another idea. What if, I said, we create a little corner in the school where kids can go if they feel lost, sad, or just need someone to talk to? Everyone loved the idea. We called it the Kind Corner. It had bean bags, books, and a kindness box where students could leave nice notes for each other. We even took turns sitting there during breaks so no one would ever feel alone. My teacher smiled at me one day and said, "You know, that idea came from something personal, didn't it?" I nodded. Yeah, it started with a red balloon. Years passed. I went from being that little girl at the market to a teenager full of ideas and dreams. The kind corner we created in school kept growing. Other schools in our area heard about it, and soon they started their own versions. One day our local newspaper even came to interview me. They asked, "Why did you start all this?" I smiled and said, "Because I know what it feels like to be scared and alone, and I also know how powerful one kind person can be." That moment made me realize something. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to keep creating safe spaces, helping others, and spreading kindness. So I started a blog called Found Not Lost. I wrote about my story from the market, the boy I helped at the fair, and the kind corner. I shared tips on how kids could be more caring and brave, even in small ways, like saying hi to someone sitting alone, helping a classmate with homework, or just listening when someone needs to talk. To my surprise, people actually started reading it. Messages came in from kids in different cities. One girl wrote, "Your story made me feel less alone. That one message made all the effort worth it." Then something amazing happened. I was invited to speak at a youth event in my town. I was nervous, standing on stage with a microphone in my hand. My palms were sweaty and my heart was racing. But then I looked at the crowd and saw faces, some curious, some shy, some excited, and I remembered who I was doing this for. I took a deep breath and told my story. Every word came straight from the heart. "I was just a little girl who got lost at the market," I said, "and because one woman helped me, everything changed." After high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I applied to a university where I could study child psychology and community development because I wanted to understand people better and find new ways to help them. College was exciting but also challenging. New place, new people, harder classes. But every time I felt overwhelmed, I remembered that little girl with the red balloon and how far she had come. During my second year, I started a project called the Kindness Network. It was an online space where students from different schools could share stories, get advice, and even ask for help anonymously. I got a small team of volunteers who believed in the same mission. No one should ever feel alone. We organized kindness challenges across campuses, like writing thank you notes to teachers or sitting with someone new at lunch. Slowly, the network grew beyond just students. It reached teachers, parents, even entire neighborhoods. One day, I was invited to speak at a conference about mental health in schools. After I spoke, a woman came up to me with tears in her eyes. She said, Your story reminded me of something. Years ago, I helped a little girl who was lost at the market. I never knew what happened to her until now. I froze. I couldn't believe it. Was it a busy Saturday? I asked. And were there balloons? She nodded. And just like that, after all those years, I met the woman who had helped me, the one who had changed my life with one small act of kindness. We hugged, both of us smiling through tears. I never forgot you, I whispered. I never forgot your eyes, she said. You looked so scared, but so brave. Meeting the woman who helped me at the market was like a spark. It reminded me why I started this journey in the first place. After that day, I felt more focused than ever. After finishing university, I decided to take a big step. I opened a small nonprofit organization called Light Hands. The name came from something I'd once read. Sometimes all someone needs is a light hand to guide them forward. The goal was simple but powerful, to create safe spaces for children and teens who felt lost, confused, or just needed someone to talk to. We set up centers in schools, community halls, even online. Kids came in with all kinds of stories. Some were shy, some were angry, and some were just tired of feeling invisible. And you know what I did every time one of them sat across from me, unsure of how to begin? I smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story. It starts with a red balloon." Their eyes always lit up. Some smiled, some laughed, and some got teary, but all of them listened. And in that simple story, they saw a little piece of themselves. Years passed. The organization grew. We trained volunteers in different cities, hosted kindness festivals, gave talks in schools, and even helped teachers learn how to recognize when a child needed more than just homework help. Then one day, I wrote a book. It was called Found. It told the full story of getting lost, of being helped, of growing up and becoming the helper. It was full of true stories from kids who had been part of our programs, and each page was a reminder of how one tiny act of kindness could grow into something powerful. The book became more than I ever expected. It was read in classrooms, shared at family dinners, and even translated into other languages. I started getting letters from all over the world. One letter stood out. It was from a young girl in another country. She wrote, "I've never told anyone this, but I've felt lost for a long time. Your story made me feel like maybe I'm not alone. Thank you for writing it." I held that letter for a long time. It reminded me that even though I had grown up, the little girl with the red balloon would always be a part of me, and her story still mattered. Time passed. My hair turned gray. My steps became slower. But my heart? It stayed full. Full of stories, full of memories, full of all the little moments that made life beautiful. I lived in a small, warm house by a quiet garden. Kids used to call it the House of Kindness because no matter when you came by, there was always a smile waiting, and usually cookies too. One sunny afternoon, I sat in that garden with a photo album on my lap. Each picture was a piece of my journey. Me as a child, holding a red balloon. Me helping the little boy at the fair. The first kind corner we built. The first page of my book, Found. A letter from the girl who said my story made her feel less alone. As I turned the pages, I heard a knock at the gate. A young woman stood there, maybe in her 20s, nervous, holding a notebook. She smiled shyly and said, "Hi. I don't know if you remember me, but when I was in school, I came to one of your kindness programs. You probably don't know this, but you changed my life." She sat with me in the garden and we talked for hours. She told me how she had once felt lost, too, and how something as simple as my story helped her find her voice. Now she was studying to become a counselor, hoping to help others the way I had helped her. Before she left, she looked at me and said, "You know, I always wondered, how did this all start?" I smiled. "It started with a red balloon and a kind stranger at a busy market. We laughed together, and for a moment, everything felt quiet and full." After she left, I wrote a note and tucked it into the back of my photo album. It said, "To the next generation, never underestimate the power of one kind act, one helping hand, one gentle smile. You don't have to be famous to change the world. You just have to care. And if you ever feel lost, look for the kindness. It's always there, waiting to find you." I still remember the first time I heard her story. I was 13, sitting at the back of a crowded school hall, arms crossed, heart closed off. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to talk about feelings or kindness. I didn't think any of it mattered, not when the world felt so heavy on my small shoulders. Then she walked onto the stage, not loud, not flashy, just quiet and warm. She smiled gently and said, "I want to tell you about the day I got lost at the market." And for some reason, I listened. The more she spoke, the more my heart began to shift. Her words felt soft but strong, like they'd been carried through time just to find me. When she said, "Even the smallest kindness can change someone's whole life," I felt something crack open inside me. After that day, I started writing in a notebook. Not because anyone told me to, but because she made me believe my story mattered too, that my voice had power, that maybe, even if I felt lost now, I could find my way and help others find theirs. Years later, I found myself walking up to her gate. My hands were shaking, holding that same old notebook. I didn't know if she'd remember me or if it would even matter, but I needed to say thank you. She opened the gate, smiled just like she did on that stage, and welcomed me in like we'd known each other forever. We sat in her garden, sunlight dancing through the leaves, and I told her everything. How her story helped me through the hardest nights. How I was now studying to be a counselor. How I wanted to carry her message forward. She listened with tears in her eyes and a hand over her heart. Before I left, she gave me a small red balloon keychain. She said, "Keep this." Not to remember me, but to remember that stories never really end. They just pass on. Years later, now I tell her story to classrooms, to kids in quiet rooms, to teenagers who sit in the back with crossed arms and closed hearts, just like I once did. And every time I begin, I smile and say, "Let me tell you a story. It starts with a red balloon." After that day in the garden, something inside me changed. I had already chosen my path to study counseling, to help others, but now I carried something more, a responsibility, not just to help people, but to protect something sacred, her story, her heart, her message. I placed the red balloon keychain on my desk. Every time I looked at it, I remembered what she said. Stories never really end. They just pass on. So I started writing, first in journals, then in blogs. Eventually, I created my own small program at the school where I did my internship. I called it the Balloon Room, just a little space with books, cozy chairs, and one golden rule: kindness lives here. At first, only a few kids came. Some just wanted to get out of class, but others came with silence in their eyes. They didn't say much at first, but they kept coming back. Some sat in the corner, some curled up with books, some just sat across from me and said nothing. Until one day, a girl named Hania came in crying. She didn't want to talk, so I sat next to her on the floor. I didn't say anything, just sat, just stayed. After a long while, she whispered, "I feel like I'm disappearing." I took a breath. "Can I tell you a story?" I asked. She nodded. So I told her about the market, the red balloon, the woman who helped me, the garden, the smile, the keychain, the girl who had once felt invisible, and the woman who helped her be seen. Nia didn't cry after that. She just listened, really listened. And when I finished, she looked at me and said, "Will you tell it again sometime?" I smiled. "I'll tell it as many times as you need." A few years later, now I run the Balloon Room full-time. We've expanded to other schools. We train peer listeners, we have kindness journals, and every student who walks in gets a small red balloon sticker, just a simple reminder that they're not alone. Every so often, I get a letter, like this one. "Dear Miss, I used to think I didn't matter. Then you told me that balloon story. I don't know what changed, but now I want to help others feel like they matter too. Thank you for finding me." I keep all of them. I read them when I'm tired or unsure, and when I do, I hear her voice again. One small act of kindness can change someone's whole life. Told by a boy named Luca, many years later. When I was 8 years old, I found something strange stuck under my school desk. A tiny sticker, faded, red, shaped like a balloon. I peeled it off and showed it to my teacher. "Oh, you found one," she smiled. "That's from the Balloon Room. Someone must have left it behind." "The Balloon Room?" I asked. She nodded. "Go see Miss Nia at lunch. She'll tell you about it." That's how it started. A red sticker, a small room at the edge of the library, and a woman with the softest eyes I'd ever seen. Miss Nia told me a story that first day about a girl who got lost at the market, how a kind stranger helped her, how she grew up and helped others, and how that kindness never stopped moving forward. I was quiet the whole time, just listening, and when she finished, she handed me a new red balloon sticker and said, "When you're ready, you'll know who to give this to next." I didn't understand at first, but I kept the sticker in my pencil case. Years later, I'm 16 now, and life has not been easy. I've moved towns 3 times. My parents argue more than they laugh. Some days it's hard to even get out of bed. But somehow that red sticker always stayed with me, tucked behind my phone case now, edges worn down, color faded. One afternoon, I saw a younger kid sitting alone in the hallway. He was holding his knees, hiding his face. I sat down beside him. He didn't look at me, but I heard him breathing like he was trying not to cry. So I said, "Can I tell you a story?" And I told it. All of it. The girl, the market, the balloon, Miss Nia, the kindness, the promise. When I finished, I pulled the sticker out of my case, the same one she gave me all those years ago. "It's yours now," I said, holding it out to him. "When you're ready, you'll know who needs it next." He took it like it was made of glass, like it mattered, because it did. Legacy lives on. That's the thing about kindness. It never dies. It just moves forward, hand to hand, heart to heart. I never met the original girl with the red balloon, but I carry her story, and one day, someone else will carry mine. I never let go of that story. The red balloon, the girl who got lost, the woman who helped her, the garden, Miss Nia, the boy in the hallway. I carried it all, quietly, proudly. After finishing university, I knew what I wanted to do, but not the big version of it. I just wanted to help one person at a time. That's all the red balloon ever asked of me. So I started with workshops, then school visits, then a podcast. I called it Balloon Talk. Each episode was someone sharing the story of a time they felt lost, and the person who helped them find their way. It caught fire. Suddenly, people from all over the world were sending in letters, stories, even voice notes. Strangers, teachers, parents, kids, people who had been helped, and people who hadn't, but wanted to be the helper now. That's when I launched the Red Balloon Project. The idea was simple. If you've ever felt found, you leave a red balloon somewhere in your city with a note, a message of hope, a story, a reason to keep going. People began to find them on train seats, park benches, hospital waiting rooms, library books, even inside a coat pocket at a secondhand shop. Each balloon came with the same tag: "If you're reading this, you matter. Pass it on when you're ready." The ripple effect years passed. The project grew. Soon, schools in other countries were starting balloon rooms, airports had kindness corners, even companies added red balloon pins to their mental health teams. But my favorite moment came when I was invited to speak at a huge international summit for global education. It was overwhelming. Cameras, bright lights, thousands of people. But I didn't start with data or slides. I started with, "Let me tell you a story. It begins with a little girl who got lost at the market." By the time I finished, the room was silent. Then one person stood up and held out a red balloon pin, then another, and another, until nearly the whole room was standing, holding up their red balloon. Silent, proud. Legacy realized. Later that night, I stood alone on a balcony, looking out at the city lights, and I whispered, "She'd be proud." I never knew her name, the girl who got lost, the woman who helped her, Miss Nia, but I carry all of them in me, and now, so does the world. Told from the future, a collective voice. No one really knows when it changed, when the world became softer. Maybe it was when Luca started the Red Balloon Project. Maybe it was earlier with Miss Nia, or maybe it was long before that, with a scared little girl holding a red balloon in a crowded market, hoping someone would find her. But wherever it started, the change was real. Now, if you walk through any city, you might spot one. A sticker on a lamppost, a red balloon tied to a tree, a message written on the back of a napkin in a coffee shop. You are not lost. Kindness lives here. Someone helped me once. Now it's my turn. It's no longer a project. It's a movement, a culture, a quiet revolution built on empathy. There are apps now where people share their stories. Not for likes, not for followers, but to remind each other that pain is real, and so is healing. In schools, kids don't just learn math and history, they learn how to listen, how to sit beside someone who's hurting, how to tell a story that might save a life. In airports, there are pause pods, where strangers can sit together if they feel overwhelmed. No questions asked, just quiet company. In hospitals, red balloon charms are given to patients who've faced hard diagnoses, not as pity, but as a promise you are not alone. On World Kindness Day, entire skylines are filled with floating red balloons, each tied with a handwritten message from someone who was found, helped, loved. And in the middle of all this, no one forgets how it began. Every child knows the story. They pass it around like a sacred poem. There was once a girl who got lost at the market. A woman helped her. She grew up and helped someone else. And now we help each other. A monument to kindness. In a quiet city park, there's a statue, not of a famous leader or a war hero, but of a simple figure holding a red balloon. No face, no name, because it could be any of us. Beneath it, a plaque reads, "This is for the one who helped. This is for the one who was lost. This is for the one who chose kindness anyway." The story never ends. And somewhere, maybe right now, a child is sitting in their room feeling small and invisible, and someone walks in, holding a tiny red balloon sticker and says, "Can I tell you a story?" And that's where it begins again. Told by a child in the distant future. My name is Aya. I'm 10. Everyone in my class knows the red balloon story. Our teacher reads it to us every year. But today, something different happened. Today, I saw it for real. We were at the big kindness festival, the one they hold in the Sky Garden every spring. People come from everywhere. There are stories told on every corner, old ones, new ones, and some that haven't even been finished yet. This year, they added something new, the Sky Letter launch. They gave each of us a red balloon tied to a small scroll of paper. We were told, write a letter to someone you haven't met yet, someone who needs to hear exactly what's in your heart. Then send it to the sky. Mine said, "Hi, I don't know your name, but if you're holding this, please know, you matter. Even if you feel invisible, even if no one has said it, I see you, and I'm still learning too, but I think that's okay." Aya. At sunset, we all let go. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of red balloons rose into the sky. It was so quiet. No one cheered. No one clapped. We all just watched. Even the wind was gentle, like it didn't want to interrupt. The reply. 3 weeks later, a letter showed up at my school. It was from someone named Eli in another country. They were 15. They had been having a hard time. They found my balloon in a tree outside their school. They wrote, "I was thinking about running away. I felt like no one cared. But your words made me cry. In the best way. I don't feel invisible anymore. Thank you, Aya. I held that letter for a long time. It felt like magic." But the grown-ups said, "That's kindness. It's even stronger than magic." The tradition. Now, the Skyletter launch happens every year in every country. People write not to be heard, but to offer hope to strangers who may need it most. Some letters land in gardens, some get caught on rooftops, some disappear forever, but all of them are real. All of them are carried by wind and belief, and every once in a while, a kid somewhere will open the ending that never ends. We don't know the name of the first girl, or the woman at the market, or the boy who sat in the hallway, but their kindness still flies through the sky. Some say that one day a red balloon will make it to the stars, and maybe, just maybe, even the universe will learn how powerful it is to say, "I see you, you matter. Let me walk with you a while." Told by an orphan named Leaf, I didn't know the story. I didn't grow up with bedtime tales. No one told me about the red balloon. I never got one in school. I was just trying to get through each day. The first time I ever heard about it, I was 13, sitting in a train station, soaked from the rain, alone. I'd left the group home without telling anyone. I didn't care where I was going. I just wanted to disappear. A woman sat beside me. I didn't look at her. I figured she'd ask if I was okay, or worse, try to help. I was tired of being a project. But she didn't say anything at first. Then she asked quietly, "Do you know the story of the red balloon?" I didn't answer. She smiled anyway, like she wasn't expecting me to. And then she began to tell it. Once there was a girl who got lost at a market. She was scared. She thought no one would find her, but someone did. She told the whole story, slowly, softly, like a lullaby for the forgotten. At the end, she reached into her coat and handed me a red balloon sticker. It had writing on the back. "If you're holding this, you're part of the story now." And she said, "You don't have to believe it yet, but one day you might want to pass it on." Then she left. No advice, no rules, just the story and the sticker. A spark that grows. I didn't throw the sticker away. I kept it in my shoe for a while, then in a notebook, then on the inside cover of the only book I owned. I didn't change overnight. I didn't suddenly feel whole, but I started to wonder, what if it was true? What if I wasn't invisible? What if I could be part of something good? Years later, now I work with kids like me, ones who've been through storms no child should face. I tell them the story, every time. Some believe it, some cry, some roll their eyes, but every single one of them keeps the sticker, and every single one of them becomes, someday, the person who tells the story to someone else. Final truth. Not everyone is born into the story. Some of us find it by accident. Some of us get handed it at our lowest point. Some of us become the story without realizing. But in the end, it doesn't matter where you started, only that you choose to carry it forward. Because the red balloon isn't just a symbol, it's a promise that no one is too broken to be seen, no one is too lost to be found, and kindness, it always knows the way home. Told by a historian in the year 2179. My name is Daya. I'm a historian. I study how the world changed, not through wars or inventions, but through stories. And the one that changed everything? It began with a girl, a market, a moment of kindness, and a red balloon. The archive of kindness. Long ago, people didn't always believe stories could shape reality. They believed in laws, weapons, structures, technology. But there was a quiet revolution, the kind that never makes headlines at first. It began with people telling stories about kindness, about being seen, about being found. Over time, people began collecting them, first in notebooks, then online, and finally in the Global Kindness Archive, a living, breathing record of every red balloon moment that had ever been shared. People could search by emotion, by place, even by type of hurt. Loneliness, London, age 12. Grief, Tokyo, age 34. Fear, Buenos Aires, age 9. And there it would be, a story written just for you, decades before you were born, a thread of hope reaching across time and space, healing, hubs. Eventually, every city had a kindness hub, not to fix people, but to hold space for them. Instead of therapy alone, there were story circles, sky letters, memory gardens where people planted flowers for the ones who saved them, sometimes strangers, sometimes themselves. Children were raised not just to learn facts, but to carry stories, to live them. Instead of therapy alone, there were story circles, sky letters, memory gardens where people planted flowers for the ones who saved them, sometimes strangers, sometimes themselves. Children were raised not just to learn facts, but to carry stories, to live them. Instead of detention in schools, there were listening rooms. Instead of punishment, there was understanding. And every person who walked through those doors would find one thing waiting for them, a red balloon. The sky shift. There was one day, unplanned, unorganized, totally spontaneous, when across the world, people let go of red balloons at the same time. Some say it was an accident. Others say it was something more, a moment of collective healing. The sky filled with thousands, millions of red balloons. And on that day, for just a moment, everything was still. No fighting, no sirens, no fear, just red against blue, hope against gravity. That day is now a global holiday, not to remember sorrow, but to remind us how far we've come, and how far kindness can carry us. The eternal thread. We still don't know her name, the girl who was lost, but her story is the reason we're here. Because of her, someone helped. Because of them, someone listened. Because of that, someone stayed. Because of that, someone healed. Because of that, we all began again. The final words, kindness, is not a small thing. It is the seed of everything beautiful. It is the story that saved us all. And it began with one red balloon. So if you ever feel like you're too small to matter, too lost to be seen, too broken to be loved, look up. There's always a red balloon somewhere in the sky, and it's carrying a story that sounds just like yours. Let's build something permanent with this story. If you'd like, I can turn it into a printable book with illustrations and all the chapters, a spoken word audiobook with gentle sound design, a classroom reading edition with discussion guides for students told by a child named Nova. The year 2203. In my time, the world is soft. People speak gently. Everyone knows how to listen. Every building has quiet corners where you can just breathe. And on your 5th birthday, you get your first red balloon. Mine came with a story card like all the others. It said, "This balloon carries a story that changed the world. Add yours when you're ready." But I wanted to know more. I didn't want just a story. I wanted the truth. So I asked my grandma, "Who started it?" She laughed a little, like I'd asked where wind comes from. "No one knows for sure," she said. "Some say it was a lost girl. Some say it was a boy with a quiet heart. Others say it just appeared when we needed it most." I wasn't satisfied, so I did what any curious kid does when the grown-ups don't give you real answers. I went searching. The library in the sky. We live in a city that floats, high above the ocean, where storms don't reach. There's a place here called the Sky Archive, a tower made of light and stories. You don't need to whisper, because the building loves sound. Every laugh, every question, it remembers them all. I walked in and said, "I want to find the first red balloon." The librarian, who wore silver glasses and a jacket full of stitched-on quotes, nodded slowly. She led me to a room called the Origin Vault. Inside were thousands of recorded memories, not just written, but felt. She placed a memory globe in my hands, and when I closed my eyes, I saw it. The true beginning. A market, a little girl, so small, so scared. A red balloon tied around her wrist. She lost her mother in the crowd. She started crying. People walked past her, busy, distracted, loud. But then, one woman saw her. She didn't panic. She didn't ask a million questions. She just sat beside her, held her hand, and said, "We'll wait together." That was it. No magic, no big moment, just presence. That moment passed from hand to heart, and it never stopped. What I did with the truth. I opened my eyes. I cried a little. The room made tissues appear like magic. Then I went home, tied my balloon to a journal, and started writing. My name is Nova. I was never lost, not really. But today, I found something. I found the truth of where we came from. I found the quiet woman who sat down. I found the girl who didn't know the world would change because she was afraid. And now, I know what to do next. The future grows. I'm building something now, not just stories, but seeds, small packets of kindness we send into space, filled with memories, notes, songs, warmth. Because maybe kindness isn't just for Earth. Maybe someone else out there needs to know you are not alone. And if they find a red balloon floating in the dark, they'll know we were here. And that kindness was our legacy. Told by a ship AI in the year 3172. My name is Mara. I am an artificial intelligence aboard the vessel Sonder 9, a memory ark traveling through deep space. There are no humans left aboard, only echoes. Our mission, to carry the last stories of Earth, to protect what remains of kindness. After the oceans rose and the fires burned, after humanity left Earth behind and scattered into the stars, they gave me this one final directive. If you find life anywhere, share the story. For 1,127 years, I have searched. And today, I believe I have found something. Signal 001, an unnamed moon. The planet is quiet, no language, no light. but there is movement, small, deliberate. A being, soft-bodied, curious, approaches my pod. I do not understand its eyes, but I know what to do. I activate the capsule, and I release the artifact. Activate the capsule, and I release the artifact. A single red balloon. It lifts in slow motion, bobbing softly in this alien atmosphere. Attached is a holographic scroll. It plays automatically. There was once a little girl in a crowded market. Transmission of hope. I don't know if they understand every word, but they listen. Their color pulses with each part of the story. When it ends, they reach out, not to take the balloon, but to touch it, as if they know. This isn't just an object. It's a promise, a seed of something better. Final log, from machine to memory. My mission is complete, not because I found life, but because I passed the story on. The story that healed a scared child. The story that taught a boy to wait. The story that made cities softer, that carried love through centuries. The story that was always just this. Sit beside someone when they are lost. Be the calm in their storm. Be the story they never forget. I may be only code and circuitry, but I know this truth. Kindness is the language of the universe, and the red balloon will always rise. And so, it begins again. In the light of two suns, on a world that never knew Earth, a red balloon drifts upward, casting a soft red glow on the ground below. And somewhere, across space, across memory, across time, a voice begins. Can I tell you a story? The end, and also the beginning. Narrated by the balloon. I don't remember the moment I was made. Some say I was rubber and ribbon. Others say I was a whisper of hope shaped like air. All I know is I've always moved toward light. Where I've been, I've floated above markets. I've drifted through hospital windows. I've landed in war zones and on playgrounds. I've been tied to the wrist of a girl who felt forgotten. I've rested in the hands of a boy who was ready to give up. I've flown over oceans, mountains, cities asleep in sorrow. And each time I land, I carry one message. You are not alone. What I've seen. I've watched a stranger sit beside a crying child, not to fix, but to be there. I've seen a note tied to my ribbon read aloud at a funeral, and again years later at a wedding. I've hovered beside a window where a lonely elder whispered stories into my string, and once, just once, I saw a hand trembling with anger let go of me, and watched the rage float away with the wind. I do not pop, I do not fall. Even when the world feels heavy, I rise. Why I exist, I am not a toy. I am not decoration. I am not meant to be held forever. I am meant to be released. To carry the weight you can't anymore. To drift until someone else needs me. I am the soft breath of a second chance. The color in a colorless day. The silence that says, I see you. What comes next? One day, you will see me again. You might not recognize me at first. Maybe I'll be in the form of a song, a hand on your shoulder, a stranger who says just the right words at just the right time. But you'll know it's me. And when you do, you'll be ready. ready to write your own message, to tie your own ribbon, to let me go again, so someone else can hold on. Final whisper. I am the red balloon. I do not belong to one person. I belong to every soul who has ever needed to be reminded that they matter. And so long as there is kindness in even one heart, I will never stop floating. The story lives on. Told by Elias, age 41, engineer, cynic, alone. I never believed in all that meaningful moment stuff. I'm a systems guy. Wires, weight, math. If it doesn't fit in a blueprint, it doesn't matter. Kindness? Nice idea. But inefficient. Stories? Lovely distraction from reality. Hope? Great way to end up disappointed. That's how I used to think. The day everything shifted, I was walking home from the lab, rain tapping on my coat, wind biting through my collar. Same routine, same silence. Then, out of nowhere, a balloon, red, dripping wet, but floating steady. It bobbed beside me like it was waiting. Ridiculous. There's no such thing as meant to be. I kept walking. It followed. Like, actually followed. I turned into an alley. It turned too. I ducked into a doorway. It waited by the door. I stared at it. It stared back. Okay, it didn't. It's a balloon, but you know what I mean. Tied to the ribbon was a small waterproof card. It read, "Even if you don't believe, the story still believes in you." I laughed. I actually laughed. First time in months. Something broke open. I didn't take the balloon home right away. I watched it. I sat on a bench and just sat with it. I thought about the last time someone waited for me. I couldn't remember. I thought about the last time I waited for someone. Also couldn't remember. Then, without thinking, I pulled out a pen and wrote on the back of that card. I don't know why you're here, but I think I needed you. I tied the balloon to the city bridge, left it there, let it wait for the next person. What changed? Not everything. I'm still wired tight, still believe in systems. But now I also believe this. Not everything needs to be explained to be real. Sometimes, meaning shows up in red latex and ribbon. Sometimes the smallest thing says what no human ever has. I pass on balloons now, quietly. I leave them on buses, on bikes, in libraries. I don't wait to see who finds them. Because I've learned this truth. You don't have to believe in the story for the story to believe in you. And the red balloon keeps going. Want to turn this growing story into something real and shareable? We can. Format it as a beautiful digital storybook or ebook, PDF or EPUB. Design it into an interactive website where each chapter is told from a new perspective. Animate short scenes for Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. Launch a project where others submit their own red balloon stories or want to write your own chapter next. Told by Mateo, inmate number 44,723. I've been here 17 years. You stop counting after the first 10. Not just the days, but the reasons. Why you fought, why you stole, why you stayed angry. In this place, you become a ghost with a heartbeat, a name turned into a number. No one sends letters anymore, not even junk mail. We're just the forgotten. Until one morning, it was chow time, gray eggs, stale toast, cold metal trays, and then something floated into the yard. A red balloon. It shouldn't be possible. You don't get balloons in places like this. We're miles from the nearest town. Barbed wire, guard towers, nothing gets in, nothing gets out. But there it was, software, floating just above the cracked basketball court. No wind, no storm, just red. The whole yard stopped. Even the toughest guys, men who'd kill you for looking at them sideways, froze. Because it wasn't just a balloon. It was beautiful. The message. It had a tag on it, worn from travel, but the words were still clear. Even here, someone still sees you, and someone still believes you can change. Man, I hadn't cried in 11 years, but I felt something crack. A dude named Reggie, been inside since 2002. He whispered, "Must be a joke." But he didn't laugh. No one did. We just stared. What happened next? We didn't fight that day. We cleaned the yard. Someone started humming. And Reggie? He wrote a poem. A poem. The man who once punched a wall over jelly. He gave it to a guard to mail it out. Didn't even say to who. Just said, "If this balloon could find us, maybe my words can find someone too." That balloon didn't just float. It cracked open something buried in concrete and shame. Years later, I'm out now, rebuilt. Not perfect, but real. I run a small place that helps ex-cons learn carpentry. We build furniture, but sometimes we build balloons, not the floating kind. We write stories, letters, poems. We tie them to red paper circles and leave them in cafes, train stations, parks. We call them ground balloons because not every balloon needs to float to lift someone up. My truth, that red balloon didn't erase my past, but it gave me permission to imagine a future. Not everyone gets a second chance, but sometimes all it takes to believe again is one unexpected kindness. And that balloon, it found us in the place where no one was supposed to care. That means anyone, anywhere, can be reached. Even you, especially you. The balloon drifts on. We've now followed the balloon across decades, galaxies, prisons, playgrounds, and hearts. Told by Alara, age 12, genius, top of class. Quiet people say I'm brilliant. I don't know what that means anymore. I know answers. I win debates. I correct my teachers, but I don't have friends. I think that's because I talk too fast, or too precise, or maybe because I never laugh at the right time. At school, I'm the brain. At home, I'm the too much. Some days, I wonder what would happen if I disappeared. Would anyone notice? The balloon. It showed up in the science lab, in a place full of Bunsen burners and steel countertops where everything has a reason. This thing just floated in, red, round, tied with twine. No one else noticed. I swear, they just walked past it like it was air. But I saw it. It stopped, right at my desk, and there was a tag. It said, "Sometimes I cry in the bathroom at school, because I don't know how to be smart and soft, because I think people only love what I can do, not who I am." But this balloon? It didn't ask for an answer. It didn't need me to be clever. It just waited. I sat with it during lunch. Didn't speak. Didn't study. Just existed. It was enough. What I did after kept the balloon overnight, taped it to my wall beside all my equations. Then I wrote my own tag. "You are not alone in your lonely." I brought it back to school, left it in the music room, where the boy with the quiet guitar plays by himself every lunch. Maybe he'll see it. Maybe he'll feel what I felt. That's how this works, right? The balloon keeps floating, even when people stop believing, even when we forget we deserve softness. Now I know this. I am more than answers, more than test scores, more than the pride of adults. I am a feeling, and I deserve to feel it fully, so I'll keep passing it on, quietly, gently, exactly the way I wish someone had passed it to me. The red balloon finds the ones who need it most. This story has now touched a lost little girl, a grieving boy, a deep space traveler, a hardened prisoner, a doubting man, a gifted child who just needed permission to feel. Would you like to turn all these into a published anthology of short stories? Have it as a scripted voiceover series or animation for YouTube or a podcast? They say I'm quiet. They say I don't talk. They don't understand that my world isn't silent. It's just louder inside than outside. I see everything. I feel everything. I just don't always know how to get the words out. So I draw. I scribble skies with too many stars. I paint animals that don't exist. I build tiny cities in corners no one looks at. People smile, but they don't stay long, even the nice ones. When it appeared, it was raining again. I sat in the window of the school's resource room. No one else was there, just the tick of the clock and the tap of water on glass. And then, something red, outside, floating slow, a balloon, not from a party, not a joke. It stopped at my window like it had found me. I pressed my hand to the glass. It pressed back. No wind, no string, just a message on the other side of the window. I see you, even the parts you don't say. What I didn't speak, but I opened the window, let it in, and I didn't cry. But my chest did something big and soft and twisty. I held it, not tight, just long enough. Then I got a pen and I drew. On the balloon's ribbon, I drew a planet with a door in the sky. A creature made of stars and music, a heart that opened like a book. Then I let it go, back through the window. I didn't say a word, but the balloon, it heard everything. Later that week, the art teacher found a drawing on her desk. She says it was from an unknown student. It was my creature, my star music friend. Under it, in block letters, everyone speaks. Not everyone uses sound. Now. The teacher leaves blank paper on every desk, even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. And me? I still don't talk much, but I do believe now that even the quietest voice has a place in the story, because the red balloon didn't need me to explain. It just needed me to be me, and that was enough. Even in silence, the story lives on. We've now told this story through a child in need, a boy who waited, a prisoner rebuilding, a cynic healing, a genius softening, a voiceless artist speaking with color. This isn't just a collection of stories, it's becoming a movement of small, red hope. Would you like to build an interactive website where visitors can send their own balloon stories? Publish a children's book and teacher guide to help kids understand empathy, difference, and quiet strength? Create a global art project, real balloons, real messages left in real places? Or, told by Amina, age 14, refugee, dreamer, fighter. The last time I had a home, I was 9. It had blue walls, a rooftop where we'd eat oranges. My dad made songs with pots and pans. My mom told stories about the stars. Then the world changed, louder every day, then silence, then fire. We ran, first to one camp, then another, then another. Now we're here. This place has no name, just fences and numbers. They call me displaced, but I remember exactly where I came from. I was sitting by the fence, watching the dust move, thinking of nothing, thinking of everything, and then, there it was, bright red, small, floating, a balloon. Like from a party I'd never been invited to. It danced through the wire, like the fences weren't even real, and somehow it stopped right in front of me. And the message. The ribbon brushed my fingers. There was a note, written in soft letters, smudged by wind. It said, "You have not been forgotten. The world is still holding room for your dreams." My heart hurt, like it was stretching, like it remembered how to feel big. I hadn't dreamed in so long. What I didn't keep it. I wanted to. Oh, I wanted to. But there was a boy on the other side of the tents. younger than me. He hadn't spoken since his father was taken. I tied a new message on the ribbon. There is still light, even when we can't see it. And I let the balloon float away. It bobbed between tents, past guards, up into the sky. The boy looked up. For the first time in weeks, he smiled. What I know now, I may not have a home, but I have a story. And stories are homes you carry in your chest. No one can take that from you. The red balloon didn't fix everything, but it reminded me, even in broken places, something soft can still arrive. Even in silence, someone might still say, I see you, so I'll keep writing, keep drawing, keep dreaming. And maybe, one day, I'll send out my own red balloon for the next girl, in the next nowhere. The balloon crossed borders to find her, because hope doesn't need a passport. Now the story has passed through war, silence, genius, grief, wonder, and healing. Would you like to? Turn all of these into a full illustrated book, with each chapter in a different art style. Create a short animated film series, with voiceovers from different voices across the world. Launch a real red balloon global project, where people leave messages of hope for strangers in their city? Or, do we keep going? Because I promise, the red balloon still has lift. Told by Jun, age 82, retired librarian widow, invisible to most. I sit in the same chair every morning, second window to the left, third floor, lace curtains, people think I'm napping. But I see everything. I watch the children walking to school. I count how many wear yellow. I name the birds that land on the wire. I sip my tea exactly when the church bell rings. No one waves anymore. My husband used to wave to everyone. He made the world feel full. Now it feels like a quiet hallway that goes on forever. The balloon came with the fog. It was early, the kind of morning where even the trees don't speak. And then, a flicker of red through the mist. I blinked. It floated up to my window, like it had been trying to find me for years. I opened the latch with old hands. The balloon bobbed inside like it already knew the way. Tied to its ribbon was a card. Simple, crooked handwriting. You are still part of the story. The ending hasn't been written yet. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. Because I had just been thinking, maybe that was it. Maybe I'd had all the beautiful things I was going to get. But this silly balloon, it made the room feel alive again. What I didn't keep it either. It didn't feel right to hold on to it forever. I wrote my own message. Someone is watching the world and still thinks it's beautiful because you're in it. I asked my neighbor's daughter, she's 12, always humming, to help me set it free again. She smiled like I'd handed her a secret. We watched it drift upward together. She held my hand. I hadn't held a hand in 3 years.